Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, there's a huge rumor surrounding the whole news about Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau involving Jon Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Leslye Headland. But just briefly, Leslye Headland. Now, this has started with the rumor also involving Kevin Feige. Rumor has it that it appears that the Marvel president personally made fun of Jon Favreau over the state of Star Wars after the disastrous release of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. And Kevin Feige, drunk with reflected glory from Deadpool and Wolverine, has teased that Jon Favreau that Star Wars is a dying, even as Marvel Cinematic Universe finally turns a corner after years of mediocre performance. But a Disney insider says that Star Wars The Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau as well. Jon Favreau plans to slap Feige, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are both confident that Star Wars The Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau will erase the stench of the Acolyte and set Star Wars back on track with fan enthusiasm before the release of the MANDALORIAN and GROGU movie in 2026. And the second season of the show is already being planned. Now, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, this Disney insider claims to confirm that the recent attacks on the show media have been orchestrated by the monkey remnant that remains loyal to Kathleen Kennedy, and arranged that the Acolyte has bombed, enraged that the Acolyte bombed so badly, and the business of Kathleen Kennedy has made them seek for poison Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau with the public before it premieres. But Jon Favreau's ruling junta seems unafraid propaganda at best. But as y'all remember, the beast spin bullets in one of the most infamous shield sites for Kathleen Kennedy and her monkeys attacked Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau, and looks like Kathleen Kennedy faction's butthurt that the Star Wars Acolyte came and went with the whimper, and so they're trying to go ahead and poison the show in revenge. Now, this Disney insider claimed to have confirmed that Kathleen Kennedy had little involvement in the initial stages of development Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau, but by the time the writers and directors got involved, Kathleen Kennedy had been exiled out of the office and was unable to poison the show. And as Kathleen Kennedy did to the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland through her apprentice, Leslye Headland. And, well, speaking of Leslye Headland, rumor has that Jon Favreau invited Leslye Headland to a special screening of Star Wars Skeleton Crew by, well, none other Jon Favreau, and Leslye Headland declined to attend. Now, this Disney insider also says that Jon Favreau's intent was to rub Leslye Headland's face in it by showing her what Star Wars actually looks like and feels like, sensing that an invitation was meant to humiliate her, and Leslye Headland apparently stayed home. So, Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau PR journey begins as Lucasfilm works to wipe out the bad taste of the Acolyte from the fans' mouth. Now, the show was heavily featured at D23 Expo with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on stage, but Kathleen Kennedy was nowhere to be seen, which, well, basically should come as no surprise to any of us. But this is an interesting development right here. So, here's the footage from that event.
Thank you for the warm D23 welcome.
Now, as you all can see here, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on stage, but Kathleen Kennedy was nowhere to be found. As a matter of fact, Kathleen Kennedy wasn't anywhere on the stage throughout the whole event. All right, and that seems pretty interesting to me if you ask me and stuff. But other than that, you know, things are starting to develop even further around Jon Favreau as well as Dave Filoni and with Kathleen Kennedy. But let's go ahead and focus on the very noticeable absence of Kathleen Kennedy. Now, if you've been keeping up with the latest in Star Wars news, this shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but the implications of Kathleen Kennedy's absence are worth exploring, especially, you know, with considering the heavy focus on Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau at the event. Now, first off, it's clear that, you know, Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm are on a mission to where Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm are scrambling to get back in the good graces of fans after the absolute disaster that was The Acolyte. Now, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland was supposed to be a big win for Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, but instead they left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. And Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy was too woke, too far removed from the Star Wars we all grew up loving. And let's face it, it didn't respect the legacy that George Lucas created. And now Lucasfilm knows that they have to go ahead and do damage control. And what better way to start by pushing Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, you know, the dynamic duo that's partially been keeping the Star Wars flame alive with The Mandalorian, were front and center at D23 Expo, as y'all saw. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are the faces of what's left of the remaining Star Wars fans' hope. And Jon Favreau has been proving he can deliver content that resonates with both old and new fans alike if he has control over it. So it makes sense that Lucasfilm would want to showcase Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, but the absence of Kathleen Kennedy, well, that speaks volumes if you ask me. And to be honest, Kathleen Kennedy has been the driving force behind Lucasfilm's recent direction into wokeism, a direction that many of us believe has led Star Wars astray. But under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, we've seen the franchise become more and more focus on pushing woke agendas instead of telling compelling stories. Okay, now the backlash has been loud and clear. Star Wars fans are fed up with seeing their beloved franchise being used as a vehicle for political messaging, and I think Lucasfilm knows this. And guess what? Kathleen Kennedy's absence at D23 Lucasfilm panel could be a strategic move, if you ask me. It's almost like Lucasfilm is trying to say, hey, we're listening to you. We know you're not happy and we're making changes by keeping Kathleen Kennedy out the spotlight. They might be trying to go ahead and distance Kathleen Kennedy from new projects that they hope will win back the fans, okay? But let's not forget that Kathleen Kennedy is still the head of Lucasfilm, okay? Now, Kathleen Kennedy is still pulling the strings behind the scenes, so while it's tempting to think that her absence means Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out, we shouldn't get too excited just yet. But this could be nothing more than a PR stunt to make us think that changes are happening when in reality is business as usual at Lucasfilm. But what's more likely is that Lucasfilm is simply trying to shield Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau from this negative association with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, they know that what fans are wary of new Star Wars content coming out of Lucasfilm right now, especially anything that, you know, has a Kathleen Kennedy name attached to it. By keeping Kathleen Kennedy out of the spotlight, they're hoping to give Star Wars The Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau a fighting chance of success. And remember, this is all rumor, okay? But let's talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau for a minute. Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau is being pitched as another story set in the universe as Mandalorian, the same one, and that may give Star Wars Skeleton Crew by Jon Favreau some credibility. But fans trust Jon Favreau to deliver something that stays true to the spirit of Star Wars. But the big question is, can it wash away the bad taste that was left by the Acolyte? Well, Lucasfilm is betting on it, but in the end, Kathleen Kennedy's no-show at the D23 Lucasfilm panel is a move worth paying attention to. It might be the beginning of a shift in how Lucasfilm handles its PR, especially with projects that they know the fans are skeptical about. But whether Kathleen Kennedy's absence is a sign of real change at Lucasfilm or just another tactic to manipulate the fans remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, Star Wars is at a crossroads, and the choices Lucasfilm makes in the coming months will determine the future of the Star Wars franchise itself. And whether Kathleen Kennedy remains at the helm or not, the fans have made their voices heard. We want Star Wars to return to its roots, to the epic storytelling that made us fall in love with it in the first place before Kathleen Kennedy ruined it. And until that happens, we're going to keep calling out the nonsense and holding Lucasfilm accountable. Now, let me know your thoughts about this in comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more. And let me know your thoughts about it in comments below. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy's absence is a sign of things to come? Or do you think it's just more smoke and mirrors? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional details you might have this particular topic. If you enjoy what I share in this video, go ahead, smash the like button and share far across social media. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notification so that way you're notified future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.